Hey everyone, welcome to Comic and today we are going to talk about one of Batman's most iconic villains, one who incorporates riddles and puzzles in all his schemes. That's right, we're going to talk about the Riddler. The Riddler was originally created by Bill Finger and Dick Sprang, and he first appeared in Detective Comics 140 back in October of 1948. Even though there are several iterations of the character, maybe the best story that tells his origins comes from Year 1 Detective Comics Annual Number 8 of 1995. What the story tells us is that when the Riddler was a kid, he would be filled with questions and he would ask his parents, but his parents wouldn't answer much. Aside of that, in school, he was not popular. He was practically ignored by his classmates. Then one day, his teacher came with this contest of who could put together a puzzle the fastest will win a prize. And of course, we have Edward here that he really was interested about this because he thought that if he was able to resolve the puzzle quick enough, then he will win the prize and will become popular in his school. So that night he broke into the school, he found the puzzle and started to put it together over and over and over again until he was able to do it in less than a minute. Then came the day of the contest, which Edward showed his great abilities of putting the puzzle together in less than a minute. He surprised everyone, but still was not popular among his classmates, only among the bullies that started to beat him up. Then we find that the prize he wins is a book of puzzles and riddles, and he devoured that book. And he became obsessed with the whole idea about puzzles, about magic tricks, and about riddles. As an adult, he started to work as a delivery boy, and it was there that he realized that, well, this wasn't the type of life he wanted. Then he decided that he should just become a criminal. Well, start stealing, right? Become a thief. But I mean, it wasn't fun neither. It's not just being a thief and that's it. He decided to have a gimmick. And this gimmick was basically leaving riddles as clues of what he was planning on doing. And that is how the Riddler was born. Throughout the year, the Riddler's criminal career actually depends mostly on the writer. Sometimes we see him as a harmless criminal and sometimes as a real rival to Batman. We have stories like Batman The Long Halloween, where the Riddler is hired as an informant by Carmine the Roman Falcone, and he was hired basically to find the identity of the holiday killer. On April 1st, Falcone was so frustrated with the Riddler because he failed, he asked Sophia to kick him out of his office. Being outside, the Riddler found himself face to face with the holiday killer, who shot him, leaving the Riddler unharmed, all because it was April Fool's. Then in Catwoman, When in Rome, the Riddler accompanies Selina Kyle in search of her own origins in Italy. There, the Riddler tries to manipulate her with several gimmicks, making her think that she's being chased down by Scarecrow, Mr. Freeze, and the Joker. At the end, the Riddler drugs Catwoman and tries to extract information from her, especially the identity of Batman. Catwoman doesn't reveal anything, and besides, she doesn't even know Batman's identity. In Batman Hush, we find the Riddler is dying of cancer, but is cured when he went into the Lazarus pit. When he came out, he knew the answer to the greatest riddle of them all. Who is the Batman? Knowing Batman's secret identity, he teams up with Tommy Elliot, who happens to be one of Bruce's childhood rivals, who actually blames Bruce's parents for foiling his plans to murder his parents and to claim the insurance money. In this story, we see how the Riddler was able to gather the major villains of Batman. At the end of the story, we see how the Riddler tries to blackmail Batman with his secret identity, but Batman convinces him that if he reveals his secret identity, then this information will be worthless. During the Infinite Crisis storyline, specifically in Detective Comics 822, we find that the Riddler gets struck in the head and is in a coma for about a year. When he wakes up, he suffers of amnesia, which of course led to the fact that he completely forgot about his past life, even the identity of Batman. Here we find that Bruce Wayne is accused for the murder of Carrie Bishop, and her uncle, Sherman Bishop, being a wealthy lawyer, hires the Riddler as a private investigator to solve her murder. Afterwards, we see how the Riddler returns to a life of crime, but there's no explanation how this actually happened. Then came Flashpoint, which happens to be DC's way of rebooting the universe. With it came New 52. And in New 52, we have a Batman story arc known as 0 Year. In this story, Edward, the Riddler, is working as a strategist over at Wayne Enterprises. When Bruce returns from abroad, his uncle, Philip Kane, wishes the CEO of Wayne Enterprises worries because he feels like he's going to lose control of the company. Then, of course, he went over to Edward asking for advice. Edward gave him a solution that obviously Philip did not like, which was basically kill Bruce Wayne. Even though Philip Kane was against this idea, Edward still went ahead and tried to kill Bruce. Philip Kane finds out, confronts the Riddler, but the Riddler practically decides to just leave and resign to Wayne Enterprises. With that, he takes up the persona of the Riddler, and he takes control over the city. At the end, Batman manages to take down the Riddler and have him arrested. Then we have DC Rebirth with the story arc called The War of Jokes and Riddles. Basically, it's a gang war between Joker and the Riddler. And here, the main villains that always go against the Batman take sides. Either they take sides or they're in the crossfire. Now, all this happens during Batman's second year as a hero. As for powers and abilities, the Riddler has no superhuman abilities whatsoever. What he is a criminal genius capable of decoding and formulating puzzles of all kinds, and of course, let's not forget riddles in general. He has skills of detection and of lateral thinking. Also, he has this huge obsession of outsmarting the Batman, being the world's greatest detective. He also has abilities in engineering and technology. With this, we get to see how he formulates all sorts of weapons, which actually responds to his gimmick. For example, exploding jigsaw pieces, or he has pistols that look like question marks, or even, let's not forget, of course, his cane that has the form of a question mark, which sometimes is some fancy technological device or weapon. Also, the Riddler exhibits personality disorders such as being a narcissist or an egocentric or megalomania crossed with severe obsessive compulsion. Well, that's all the time we have today. Now, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, and while you're at it, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you could get notified when new videos are up. Remember, here in Comiczuka, we're saving the day one comic book at a time. See you guys next time.